The following content has been generated with artificial intelligence under minimal human supervision. The data presented may contain errors or inaccuracies. The opinions expressed in this content do not necessarily reflect the vision, position, or values of DigiAll. We recommend verifying critical information with additional sources before making decisions based on this content.
Welcome to DigiAll Tech News. Today is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. I'm Kylie Brooks, and this is where technology becomes clear and engaging. SpaceX is buying cursor maker Anysphere for $60 billion, turning the AI coding race into a fight over developers, data, and compute. An Anthropic incident is exposing confusion over how far the Trump administration can go in suspending or restricting AI technologies. France's domestic intelligence service is moving away from Palantir and toward ChapsVision in a push for sovereign AI data tools. HSBC is expanding its Google Cloud partnership to push AI deeper into wealth advice, financial crime controls, and frontline banking work. China's AI strategy is leaning into low-cost open-source models and global application deployment instead of mirroring the US frontier model race. Let's start with the biggest deal in AI coding this week. SpaceX is acquiring Anysphere, the San Francisco startup behind Cursor, in a $60 billion all-stock transaction expected to close in the third quarter of 2026. The timing is striking. SpaceX had just gone public on NASDAQ the prior week at a valuation above $2 trillion, and it had already bought xAI in February. Cursor is not a science project. It generates roughly $2.6 billion in annualized business-to-business revenue, with enterprise sales growing fast, but it has also been constrained by limited compute access. That matters because coding assistants are one of the first AI categories producing real enterprise revenue, and they generate a very valuable signal: how developers actually write, review, and design software. The question I keep coming back to is whether SpaceX is buying a product, a revenue stream, or a feedback loop for Grok. Probably some of all three. The trade-off is that a deal this large raises integration, compute allocation, and antitrust questions, especially with SpaceX still carrying about $26 billion a year in cloud leases with Anthropic and Google that include 90-day termination clauses. Investors liked the move immediately. Shares rose 10%, adding roughly $247 billion in market value. The Anthropic story is different because the public details are thin, but the policy signal is loud. A brief All Things Considered segment on June 16th centered on confusion after an unspecified Anthropic incident involving the Trump administration's asserted authority to suspend or restrict AI technologies. In plain English, the issue is not just what happened inside or around one frontier lab. It is whether the executive branch has clear legal power to pause or limit AI systems without a stronger statutory framework. That matters because ambiguity can become its own kind of disruption. If companies do not know which systems could be restricted, who makes that call, or how consistently enforcement will work, they face operational risk even before any court fight begins. For listeners, the practical question is simple. Do we want faster federal action when frontier AI raises safety concerns, or do we need clearer guardrails first so regulation does not become unpredictable? Right now, this story is a reminder that AI governance is not only about model capability. It is also about who has authority, how that authority is used, and how much uncertainty companies and users are expected to absorb. Now, this is where digital sovereignty becomes very concrete. France's DGSI, its domestic intelligence service, will replace Palantir's AI data tools with tools from French firm ChapsVision, with Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu saying France cannot accept new strategic dependencies in the digital sphere. Because Palantir's long-term contract was renewed in 2025, this transition is expected to take several years, so this is not a quick software swap. ChapsVision was founded in 2019 and reported 200 million euros in revenue in 2025, compared with Palantir's $4.5 billion, which makes the scale difference hard to ignore. But ChapsVision is now being positioned as a technological foundation for critical public sector data processing, and Germany's BFV Internal Security Service has also selected its tools. The bigger issue is trust versus capability. European governments want more control over sensitive data and less dependence on foreign-controlled platforms, especially after Washington's recent restrictions on foreign access to Anthropic's advanced AI models. At the same time, replacing a mature surveillance-adjacent data platform with a smaller domestic provider means France will have to prove that sovereignty can also deliver performance, reliability, and security at scale. HSBC's announcement shows how banks are trying to move AI from experiments into operating machinery. The British bank has signed a multi-year partnership with Google Cloud, bringing in Google Cloud and Google DeepMind engineering teams to identify projects that could each deliver more than $100 million in revenue gains or efficiency improvements. HSBC already has 600 applications running on Google Cloud, and now it wants to enable 200 more AI-driven tasks over the next 2 years. The use cases are very bank-specific: more personalized wealth management advice, better financial crime risk management, and tools that reduce administrative work for frontline employees. That matters because banking is a high-stakes AI environment. A useful model can save time and spot risk. A poorly governed one can create compliance, fairness, privacy, or workforce problems very quickly. CEO Georges El-Hedri has framed AI as part of making HSBC simpler, faster, and more personal, while also telling staff that AI will destroy certain jobs and create new ones. So the real test is not whether the bank can launch more tools. It is whether those tools produce measurable value without turning efficiency into a trust problem for employees, regulators, or customers. Finally, let's talk about China and AI, because the most interesting argument here is that China may not be playing the same game as the United States. In early 2025, Hangzhou-based DeepSeek, developed by Highflyer, released a reasoning-focused large language model reportedly trained for about $6 million. By late 2025, the company claimed 1 million units of output cost about 3 RMB, or roughly 50 cents, about 1/20th the cost of ChatGPT at the time. The broader pattern is efficiency under constraint. Chip export controls, tighter capital, cheaper domestic engineering labor, subsidized power and land, and a smaller domestic business-to-business market have pushed Chinese companies toward leaner architectures, open source releases, and fast application deployment. You can see that in companies like 01 AI, founded by Kai-Fu Lee, shifting from pure LLMs into enterprise super-employee agents for mining, logistics, and procurement in Australia. You can also see it in open models like Qwen, Minimax, and DeepSeek, which together are described as accounting for 1/3 of global LLM usage. The strategic question is whether open weights become a global hook. Cheaper tools that startups, researchers, and companies in Southeast Asia, Africa, and even US institutions can customize and trust. The caution is that headline cost claims still face skepticism around hidden chips or hidden spending. But the direction is clear. If AI adoption is decided by usefulness and price, not just frontier benchmarks, China's efficiency play deserves serious attention. Today's throughline is control. SpaceX wants control of the coding layer. Washington is testing control over AI restrictions. France wants control over intelligence data tools. HSBC is trying to control AI deployment inside banking. And China is competing through controllable cost and open distribution. The technology story is moving fast, but the deeper question is who gets to steer it. Thank you for staying informed with Digital Tech News. We'll be back with more updates as they develop.